You can't focus, your thoughts are racing, you feel constantly on edge. You lie awake at night running through everything that went wrong today and everything that could go wrong tomorrow. Your doctor says anxiety. Your therapist says anxiety. You've been treating anxiety for years. But something isn't adding up. The medication helps a little, but never enough. The therapy gives you tools, but the tools never quite reach the root. There is something underneath it all that nobody has been able to name. For millions of adults, the missing piece is ADHD, not instead of anxiety, in addition to it. And understanding the relationship between these two conditions is one of the most important things you can do for your mental health. Here's the core distinction. Generalized anxiety disorder is its own condition. It involves chronic, excessive worry that is often disproportionate to actual circumstances. The brain generates fear responses that are not necessarily connected to real threats. ADHD-driven anxiety is different. It is a response to a brain that is constantly losing things, missing deadlines, saying the wrong thing, forgetting what matters, and failing to meet its own expectations. In other words, ADHD anxiety is logical. It makes complete sense to be anxious when your brain has been unreliable your entire life. Your nervous system learned to stay on high alert because high alert was the only early warning system you had. The problem is that the anxiety itself then becomes a symptom that overshadows the ADHD underneath it. So you treat the anxiety, and it helps, but the ADHD keeps generating new reasons for the anxiety to exist, and you end up in a loop, managing symptoms that keep regenerating because you have not addressed the source. Here's how to tell the difference in your own experience. Generalized anxiety tends to be free-floating. It attaches to different worries over time. You worry about health, then finances, then relationships, then back to health. ADHD anxiety tends to be situational and task-specific. You feel fine until you have to start something, and then the dread is immediate and overwhelming. You feel fine until you remember something you forgot, and then the shame spiral begins. You feel fine until you are in a situation where your brain might let you down publicly, and then the anxiety is paralyzing. Does that sound familiar? There's also something called anticipatory anxiety in ADHD that is almost never discussed. Because the ADHD brain has a history of failure and embarrassment, it starts to dread situations before they happen. Not because the situations are actually dangerous, but because experience has taught it to expect something to go wrong. Over time, this anticipatory anxiety starts limiting your life. You stop taking on new projects because you know you might not finish them. You stop going to events because you know your brain might embarrass you. You start shrinking your world to the size of your reliable coping mechanisms, and then you wonder why you feel stuck. Here's what changes when you understand the ADHD anxiety connection. You stop treating them as separate problems competing for your attention and start treating them as a system. When you address the ADHD, through understanding, through strategy, through the right support, the anxiety that the ADHD was generating starts to lose its fuel. This does not mean the anxiety disappears instantly. For many people, there is anxiety that has existed so long it has become its own pattern, independent of its original source. That needs its own work. But you cannot fully resolve ADHD-driven anxiety without addressing the ADHD. And you cannot make progress on the ADHD while chronic anxiety is consuming the resources you need to function. They have to be worked on together. Now there is one more piece of this puzzle that almost nobody talks about. What ADHD plus chronic anxiety does to your body over time. Specifically, what it does to your sleep. And if you have ever lain awake for hours unable to stop your brain, unable to transition from the day into rest, unable to understand why exhaustion is not enough to make you sleep, that is next.